What happens when an Elden Ring player who's bad at parrying tries Lies of P? Hey everyone, I am the Bonfire Keeper and welcome to my channel.
Lies of P is widely considered to be the best non-FromSoft Souls game. The only reason I have never really tried Lies of P is because I knew the combat is heavily parry focused and I have never really been good at parrying. I'm perfectly fine with Dark Souls style parry with a shield, but Sekiro style parry, where it is very timing based to a point that it feels like a rhythm game, always threw me off my balance. So I was always intimidated by this game. But the constant praise and love the Souls community has for this game made me question, why has this game in particular struck the perfect chord with the community? What does this game offer that is so unique? And is the combat really as good as everyone says? So in this video I start my journey to find an answer to this question.
I started with the legendary stalker difficulty as it seems to be the intended way to experience the game and slightly intimidated by the name at the same time. I know that this game is based on Pinocchio's story. While I have not read the original book, I am familiar with the story. As I started in an abandoned train with a mysterious woman's voice in my head, I needed to make my first important decision. Which class do I want to play? Now I always go for strength in any Souls games if I have the option. But considering this game is really fast paced, I made my first exception and chose a balance weapon. But I would not stick to balance at all and just commit to dex soon, so I should have just picked the dex option here to begin with. Anyway, as I make my way through the haunted station full of puppets that look like Tom Hanks from the Polar Express, one thing that was very clear to me was how much struggle I was going to have with the parries. While I have heard it being compared to Sekiro, the parry in this game in my opinion was very different. While yes, I need to press L1 right before the attack hits me like Sekiro, the attacks in this game being delayed and way more clunky because they are puppets made it really hard to get the timing right compared to Sekiro, where the attacks are a lot faster and I don't get punished by losing health if I don't manage to land a perfect block. After learning all the mechanics through the tutorial area, I made my way to the first boss of the game, Parade Master. Now while the world of Lies of P is very steampunk and similar to Bloodborne, the first boss kinda reminded me of Nier Automata with its design and vibe. I know Pinocchio's story is very different, but the boss had that distinct feeling with Nier Automata that this enemy who might not seem alive actually is. Parade Master wasn't hard because I was still managing to get away without learning how to parry properly. He didn't feel punishing at all. So with clumsy dodging and bad blocking, I got him on my first try and unlocked the round table hold of this game, Hotel Krat. The intro genuinely surprised me because normally Soulslike always tell their story in a vague way through item description and stuff where the player usually needs to put it together. But here was this game, giving you its story through beautiful animation, and it seemed the very old tale of humans creating machine and them becoming sentient and disobeying humans and killing them. But this time they are puppets instead of androids, and with a twist on the classic Pinocchio story where I'm encouraged to lie as lying seemed to be what makes someone human. I was also realizing that this game is going to be very linear without much need for exploration at all, which was refreshing and a welcoming change from usual. As I made my way through Krat, through different types of enemies, opening shortcuts and moving forward, the combat was slowly starting to click with me. No, I was still nowhere close to perfecting parry, but I was getting more perfect blocks now. The long wind-up attacks were still throwing me off my pace, but I was still managing it. And I also came across the first humans outside of Hotel Krat while exploring the merchant, this sick little boy who told me about his friend Murphy, a police officer puppet, and this woman who asked me to retrieve her baby. I will meet them later, but first it was time for the Mad Donkey. Now here's the thing, Mad Donkey was not a hard fight either, but what he did was completely broke the confidence I was slowly building until now with my parry timing. Mad Donkey was the first human enemy of the game. His attacks were very different than the puppets. While some of the attacks were much faster and smoother, some felt like he was taking forever to land them. I tried to get the parry timings right, but I kept missing them a lot. And then I discovered the fight is so much easier if I just dodge instead, because his attacks are very easy to dodge and he is very vulnerable after his attacks, making it a lot easier to punish them also. So once I focused on that, he went down pretty quickly and I finally freed Geppetto. Now here's the thing with Geppetto. On first impression, he seems such a caring father who's worried about everyone and feels responsible for the puppet tragedy. But there was something about him that I couldn't help but get the feeling that he was hiding stuff. And if my years of video game experience tell me something, he's not as innocent as he seems. But for now, I couldn't do anything about it, so I moved forward. As I moved towards the city hall, I found that woman's baby who's just a doll. And I was also pleasantly surprised to see how the game just marks the stargazer that you need to teleport to complete the quest. After giving her baby back and lying to her about how cute the baby is, I entered the city hall, and this is where I hit my first roadblock of the game. I found Murphy, and Murphy kicked my ass. He was the first real challenge of the game, and it felt like he was there to skill check the player to see if they are ready to face what's beyond. Murphy hit like a truck. His combos were meant for a player to pay attention and not just spam dodge or parry. His face change add an extra layer, where even if I land a perfect block, I still need to dodge or I will get hit by lightning. When I first started fighting him, I felt truly bad at the game. I was constantly dying because I was panicking too much. Either I was blocking too early or dodging too late. Even if I started getting the parry timing right for a few moves, certain combos felt really impossible to dodge for me. I took a break to clear my mind, and then suddenly it started clicking. I figured out a pattern for me. I started blocking the moves I was confident enough to block and dodging the ones I couldn't get the timing just right. And it worked. After many deaths, I got him. It was not a perfect run, and I still could have lost. But after keeping my nerves calm, I managed to beat him. That's what the fight does really well, is that it teaches you patience. And this fight made me a lot more confident for the fights ahead. This is also where the game introduces summons, but I prefer not to use summons for my first playthrough.
Should I made up my mind this time? I'm taking it over.
After beating Murphy, I unlocked the P-Organ skill tree, which is a funny name for it. But I kinda misunderstood at first how the skill tree works. I thought you needed to complete all 4 before moving to phase 2, but I would later discover I just needed to unlock 2 skills completely, and I wasted 2 quartz. Now with my dad's request to rescue his friend Venigni, I made my way towards the factory. But I did not expect a Batman villain to be here, as the Riddler interrupted me with a very easy riddle.
Riddle me this, Batman.
And gifted me a key for answering it. I'm usually not good at riddles, but this one I have probably heard 100 times. Venigni's factory had 2 ways to go. I could have either fought the giant robot in the corruption pool, which is basically this game's version of Poison Swamp, or I could have taken the stairs. I chose to take the stairs since it seemed pretty obvious that I would be able to lower the pipe there to make a shortcut for later. This is also the time the game decided to be funny by giving me jump scares by making breakable floors that I constantly fell before. So far all the levels have been pretty linear, where the shortcuts were not even needed half the time, but this level felt different. While still linear compared to other Souls games, this level felt more complex. It gave the feeling of actually exploring an abandoned factory with narrow paths and broken machines, a larger level with more variety of enemies and actually missable spots and secrets including bosses. While nowhere as hard and complicated, it still reminded me of Saint's Fortress from Dark Souls 1 with all the traps and rolling balls. And I also came across two non-hostile yet very ominous human NPCs. And I also found the room where I was able to use the Trinity key I got from the Riddler. And after exploring a little more, I was able to find the lever to lower the corruption swamp where the giant boss was, making the boss a joke fight after that. But I was also able to find my favorite weapon handle so far after that, the booster glaive handle. The heavy attack on this is so satisfying and it actually performs well with decks. But then I was able to find the secret boss and the second human boss of the game, the Survivor, and again running into the problem of suddenly losing my pace with parries when the enemy type changes so abruptly. But luckily Survivor was not a hard boss at all and I was able to get him on first try. But now it was time for the fourth main boss of the game, the King's Flame Fuoco. Fuoco was a weird one for me because while I was dying to him and was struggling to parry everything correctly, I was also doing well damage at this point, and his attacks hitboxes were weird in a sense that they were missing me all the time without me even trying to dodge or block. So all I had to do was to just not get greedy and heal, and he went down very fast without me even having the time to actually learn his moves and combos so I can properly beat him. And for that reason the fight was really unsatisfying for me. And so far all the main bosses I fought, I think Fuoco was definitely my least favorite for that reason. After beating Fuoco, as I made my way through the mines, I reached a small village with beautiful lighting, the Moonlight Town. This town didn't have much going on, except it had a lot of enemies, some scattered loots, and a trap that I fell for and died because everyone ganged up on me. But after making my way through the town, I came across another human NPC alongside a cable car. Here I had the option to fool her by doing a stalker gesture and make her believe that I am also a stalker like them. But I was confused about how I knew to do this gesture properly. But later I found out that it's because I beat the Survivor boss before I had the option here, or otherwise I would have had to fight her to get through. But after making my way through the non-violent option and a beautiful cable car ride with Gemini's annoying narration bugging me all the way through, I reached the next area to face the biggest surprise in the game.
The zombies are coming.
Zombies. This game has zombies? I thought this game was about puppets going crazy and Pinocchio trying to be a real boy and some bad humans. But zombies? That's a whole another direction. How and why are they in this story? That just changes everything I learned till now. I was flabbergasted. I was a little bit surprised to find the amulet that lets you do additional damage against puppets and thought it was broken since we are only up against puppets. But now I understood why. With a new area and a completely new type of enemy unlocked, I was super excited to continue this journey.
This game is hard. Probably the hardest game I have ever played. Before starting this game, I was genuinely intimidated. I never finished Sekiro because I never really clicked with the parry mechanic there, and I thought this game would be the same and I would give up on this too. But there is something different about this game. First of all, I love steampunk. Arcane is one of my favorite shows after all, so these Victorian style settings immediately grabbed my attention. I loved that the story was being told so openly, which was a welcoming change, and it seemed to take the inspiration from the original book but put their own spin on it, making it work in a settings like this. Felt incredible. The spooky Bloodborne vibes the game was giving so far made sense to me why the Souls community is so obsessed with this game. And then there's the combat. Yes, it's incredibly hard, but it's also incredibly satisfying as well. The bosses feel impossible at first, but once you get familiar with the pattern, it just clicks. I'm still not good at the combat, but I'm having a blast with this game. If you enjoyed hearing about my first experience with this game, consider liking the video and subscribe to join me on this journey as I go through this amazing game. Thank you and I'll see you next time.